Hey, what's up, guys? Back again with shelf number three of my music CD album collection, shelf by shelf series, whatever you want to call it. Just by chance, shelf number three happens to be the one with the most albums on it, so this video will go longer than the first two, I'm guessing, so we might as well get straight into it and kick this off. So, the first album that we have here is I Don't Think I Can Do This Anymore by the band Moose Blood. Moose Blood are like this emo pop punk kind of band, more so emo. Um, Even when I picked up this album, I wasn't massive on it, just sort of in a Moose Blood phase. So, yeah, it's not one that really jumps out at me to start this shelf off. But here's a cooler one. The Story So Far, I Want to Disappear. This is only a year old now. Really cool pop punk stuff. I know The Story So Far have sort of polished their sound a little bit more. They're not as frantic as they used to be, but still cool shit. A band I've titled the most underrated band, in my opinion. I've said that before on my channel. Waster and their album Identity Crisis. Really cool shit. Cool album. Like I said, I'm going to try and keep this one going pretty quick, but the albums are getting stuck here. New Youngblood album, Idols. Now, if you've been watching this series, I've brought up Youngblood already a couple of times, and I've said I've sort of grown off him, but I was listening to this album, and you know what? Even with that being said, it's nothing spectacular. Like, I'm not taking my word back, but you know, I had some moments where I'm like, fuck, I might as well pick up the album. Something new to listen to. Speaking of new albums, another one from this year by the band Spacey Jane called If That Makes Sense. I forgot what it was called for a second. But yeah, new Spacey Jane I've been enjoying a fair bit. I think I spoke about them on the last shelf as well. Back with another Pink, I'm Not Dead. You know, early Pink, this is sort of like, yeah, you could say the earlier half of her career now that she's got definitely a bigger discography, but early Pink wasn't quite my thing. She has some cool stuff, but yeah, there's some bangers on there for sure. Infinity on High by Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy is my favorite band, but this is an incredible album. I know most people would say that this is their best, but I always give the edge to Folie à Deux. I think that album is fucking awesome. Insomniac, Green Day. Yeah, everyone knows Green Day. It's not one of their best albums, but underrated for sure. Intellectual Property, Water Parks. You know, I think Water Parks, for me, even though they're a new band still making music pretty consistently, I feel like, you know, they're past their peak and, you know, best of moments, but, you know, fun enough album, has its moments. Jaws of Life, Pierce the Veil, newest Pierce the Veil album. I'm so much in love with Pierce the Veil, and I think this is an album that's grown on me a lot. Like, even when it came out, I dug it, but, you know, I think I was a little bit harsh on it, expecting it to be something different, but, you know, since this album's release, it's just grown on me more and more over time. Really cool album. Just Like You, Falling in Reverse. You know what? For Falling in Reverse, it has its moments. Like Chemical Prisoner is a cool song. It has its cringy moments like Sexy Drug and Just Like You and whatever, but Stay Away, Wait and See, My Heart's to Blame. Like, there's some cool shit on here. Die For You. Yeah, I know a lot of people want to just jump to hating on Falling in Reverse, but yeah, there's some cool shit. King of the Mischievous South Volume 2 by Denzel Curry. Made me look like a fucking idiot. I was trying to find Volume 1 for ages. There is no fucking Volume 1, but for what it is, cool album. You'll notice there isn't a whole ton of rap or hip-hop on here, but Denzel Curry is probably my favourite modern rapper. And right after I said there's not a lot of rap and hip-hop here, we have another rap hip-hop album, KOD. I believe that stands for Kids on Drugs, if I remember correctly, by J. Cole. Not his best effort, but I also feel like it gets overhated. Like, I think it's still pretty solid. A Lesson in Romantics by Mayday Parade. Very cool Mayday Parade shit. This has got to be my favourite album by them. I think it's actually the only Mayday album I own currently. There's some other ones I want to pick up. One of my all-time favourite albums, Let the Ocean Take Me by the Amity Affliction. I love the Amity Affliction. Such a great, heavy Australian band. Like, in my top 10 bands easily. And this album, I think, was on. I said in shelf number 1, 5 Seconds, some self-titled, was my first ever album I owned. I think I honestly picked this one up on the same day, so polar opposites, but yeah, like I can't even put into words how much this album means to me. Let's cheers to this by the band Sleeping with Sirens. Good early Sleeping with Sirens, just some fun iconic shit on here. If you can't hang, do it now, remember it later. But then there's some underrated shit on here as well. Postcards and Polaroids. What's the name? Trophy Father's Trophy Son is the song that's grown on me so much as well. Here we have Life's Not Out to Get You, Neck Deep. This is a 10 out of 10 album for me. Like, I just paused and trying to figure the words that I could say about how much I... You know what? This is how much I love this album. Let me swap hands here and pull up my sleeve for a second. I'm not sure if you can see that there, but I have the little dude from the album cover tattooed on me there. That's how much I love this album. I don't know where my mic's gone. There it is. Sorry about that, but yeah, I think that describes how much I love this album. 10 out of 10 for me. Lips Like Oxygen by the band Oh Weatherly. A debut album, cool enough. Like, it's not perfect, but definitely has some highlights on there. Unfortunately, this is the one and only album by Oh Weatherly, because they did one and then dipped. Losing What We Love by the band Knuckle Puck. I've grown very much on Knuckle Puck over the past handful of years. I know a lot of people for the longest time have been loving them. I'm sort of late to the chase, so I understand that, but cool shit here. Some really cool stuff. If I want to highlight a song in here, I'm going to say Groundhog Day. Fucking banger. Love and Loathing by With Confidence. I spoke a little bit about With Confidence before on earlier shelves. Just cool band. They're going to be missed because they have broken up. Hopefully, they get back together and maybe do like a one-off album or something. I'd love if they did more than a one-off, but this is my favorite album by them. I think it's just really fucking cool. Love Monster by Amy Shark, an Australian singer-songwriter here. I do like this album. It has some really cool moments for sure, and there's some songs that do hold up. My main problem with Amy Shark is her writing. Like, it feels like it's being written by a fucking 13-year-old high school girl writing fan fiction romantic novels. Like, just some of her writing really gives me the ick. Madness, Sleeping with Sirens, some of their later stuff. Not as good as the early stuff, but there's still some cool shit on there. Mainstream Sellout, Machine Gun Kelly. This probably scared a lot of people away, me pulling this out. I'm one that will defend Machine Gun Kelly, but I can only do it so much. I'm sure that hopefully gives you an explanation of my thoughts on that album. Mantras, Alien Ant Farm, another band like Waster that I brought up before. So underrated. Like, everybody thinks they know Alien Ant Farm, but they don't actually. And this is their new album from them. Only came out last year. Really cool, surprising album. Didn't know it was coming, but I think it's honestly really fucking cool. March Fires, Birds of Tokyo. Now, if you can't tell, this is still in plastic. Because I'm not even sure if I want to keep this album yet. I got it as a gift. Someone just presumed I liked Birds of Tokyo, so now I have it on my shelf. You know what? They're okay, but I'm just not very familiar with this album and most of their work, so I don't know. Maybe I'll fucking just unwrap it and have it. Mayhem, Lady Gaga, one of my favorite albums from this year so far. This is the only Lady Gaga album I have in my collection, but I am very familiar with, well, not very familiar, but somewhat familiar with most of her work. You have to be living under a rock to not know who she is. Melt My Eyes, See Your Future by, again, Denzel Curry. A lot of people would say that this is his best work. It has its moments, but honestly, I think there's a couple of albums that I prefer over that one. Misadventures, Pierce Vale. Again, hyping on how much I love Pierce Vale. Now, I know most people would say Collide with the Sky is their favourite, but believe it or not, this is actually my favourite. I love Misadventures. I think it's a fucking phenomenal album. You know what? Let me scoot back a little bit. Alright, next album here. Again, Amity Affliction, this time with their album Misery. This was their experimental album where Joel, who would normally do the screaming, dirty vocals, he was doing like a bit of singing, and you know, they put in a bit of like electronic influence in there. You know what, I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's a great album and I love it, but I do actually respect this one, you know, for something different. You know, because a lot of their stuff, it can blur together, but even though this isn't quite the taste I like, you know, it is something a little bit different. Misery Made Me by Silverstein. Yeah, Silverstein is another band that I was very late to the chase with. I don't even know what album number this is, but I knew they had a very big discography before this one, but this was sort of the album that got me into them and opened my eyes to them, and yeah, it's a cool album for sure. Get out. More Scared of You Than You Are of Me by the band, the Smith Street Band is what they're called. Australian pub rock, emo sort of stuff. Listen, I can't lie to you, this is sort of an album I've grown out of. You know, there's songs that I have nostalgia with and, you know, I still get a kick out of, but yeah, this album just in general, it isn't what it was to me at a certain point. But, you know, I hang on to these albums because, you know, even though I've sort of grown off them over time and whatever, you know, they hold a symbol, I guess, of like a time that once was in my life, you know. Mutation by Red Hook. Red Hook is a band I'm so excited to talk about whenever the chance comes up. Just think of any alternative genre and Red Hook is that. Like, they're doing new metal, they're doing pop punk, they're doing heavy stuff, they're doing electronic, like they do fucking everything, and they do it with so much fun. Like, every project that they do is fun for sure. Nation of Two by Vance Joy, another Australian singer-songwriter. Most people would know Vance Joy. I don't like this as much as his debut album, but has its moments. Another Neck Deep album, and this is their newest album, which is self-titled. Sort of back to just their good old pop-punk ways after trying some experimental stuff a little bit before this one, but yeah, cool album. As I said, not quite the same as Life's Not Out to Get You, because as I said, I fucking love that album, but yeah. Neighborhoods, Blink 182. Man, like, a lot of people say that their self-titled is most underrated, and it's gotten to the point where most people say that, where it's almost not underrated by default. I say this one to change it up, and well, I don't just say it for the point of changing it up, but I honestly think this album's so underrated. Like, there's some like cool fucking badass shit on here. So yeah, Neighborhood's cool shit. Nulla Vita, Grayscale. Grayscale's a band that have just fucking been on very high rotation over the past handful of years for myself. Like, whatever album it is besides Umbra. Umbra's the only album by Grayscale I have no intention on owning or listening to, really. I'm just not huge on that one. But Nulla Vita, cool album. Another new one that I've just recently added to the shelf, actually, Never Enough by Turnstile. I'm actually not too familiar with old Turnstile, but I was tracking along with this album, preparing for its release, and it's not a home run, but it is still a very fucking cool album. Never Enough by Turnstile. Never Happy Ever After by As It Is. I'm thinking back on, you know, albums waiting for them to come out. I remember the nostalgia waiting for this one. Paddy Walters, the lead singer of this one, I used to watch him on YouTube, and I followed along with As It Is, and this was their debut album, and yeah, takes me back to a simpler time for sure. But with that being said, for a debut album, some cool pop punk emo stuff there for sure. Gonna have to block something there. We have Nevermind by Nirvana. Very iconic artwork. You obviously know why I'm blocking something there, but yeah, cool album. I'm gonna get this one away before something happens. Next one we have 9 by Blink-182. This was in the era with Matt Skiba replacing Tom DeLonge. You know what? I used to say that I wasn't a fan of this album, and I'm not gonna, fucking blow smoke and say that it is a banger, but it's one where I just respect it now for what it is. Like, it is just fun. It's not Blink at their best for sure, but it is like, it's something where I put it on and I'm just like, you know what, for what it is, I'm having a fucking good time. So 9, No Good Left to Give by the band Movements. Every time I talk about Movements, I always highlight how they do not have a bad album, and they just release banger after banger with every, effort they put out, and I think this is honestly their best. It's really fucking good. Simple Plan, no pads, no helmets, just balls. If you know me, I'm a pop punk fan, so there was no way this wasn't going to be in my collection. Very good. I actually saw them live this year for the very first time. They opened for The Offspring. Very, very good. Very good live. Again, The Abbey Affliction, Not Without My Ghosts. This is their newest album, and yeah, I actually wasn't massive on this one at all. It has some okay moments, but like, even the best songs on this album, like, possibly don't even make like their top 10, 15 best songs of all time. So sort of below average by default. They've got a new clean vocalist and bass player now since Aaron was kicked out of the band or moved along or whatever. But I'm excited to see what they do on a full album output. Nothing Happens by the band Wallows. If the name rings a bell, this is the band with that song, Are You Bored Yet? And their frontman is, what's the actor's name? Clay Jensen from 13 Reasons Why. Dylan Minnette. Really cool, just indie pop sort of thing. It's cool. Nothing Here Is Permanent by Bearings. This is an underrated EP. Like, this is a really strong pop punk EP that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but honestly, this could be one of my favorite EPs. That's a top 10 list I should do. Top 10 EPs. This one, I'll tell you right now, it's gonna be making it. It's fucking good. Yellowcard's Ocean Avenue. I don't own much Yellowcard in my collection, but cool pop punk band for sure. Sort of revolutionary in a way, implementing violin into pop punk, which, for those who are not familiar with Yellowcard, you're probably thinking, what the fuck? But they make it work. Really cool shit. This album's most well known for the self-titled song there, and Only One is another really cool track. The album Okay by As It Is. As It Is, like, low-key drop these what's the word called? Concept album. They just randomly drop like concept albums that like sort of go over people's heads, and here's another one that really works. Yeah, cool shit. One of the Boys, Katy Perry. Now, I know over the past couple of years, maybe even longer, Katy Perry's sort of gotten some shit for having a major drop off and sort of becoming a little bit cringy. But I will tell you what, this album is legit a fucking banger. Like, if you're not familiar with early Katy Perry, this is like pop rock. Like, this is actually some really cool shit here that I think needs to get fucking looked at again if you've sort of shunned it off. Okay, so I finished filming. I went to bed to do a little bit of editing on the video before I fell asleep, and I realised that the video cut out. So I'm back out of bed, and yeah, I'm going to continue on from where I was up to. We have Blink-182's One More Time, their newest album. Think whatever you want about this album. I'm not going to tell you how to feel about it, but I honestly think this is in the better half of Blink's discography, and I'm a big Blink fan. I just think this album is a lot of fun. There's some genuinely good shit here on this album as well. But a lot of it you can also put down to nostalgia, I guess, but I really enjoyed that album. Outgrown Things by Movements. This is their EP. And like I said, they just released banger after banger. This being an EP, it's probably my least favourite out of everything that they've put out, but still some good shit on there. Overgrown, Sly Withers. Really cool indie rock, emo, pop punk Australian band. Cool shit. I've got to get into more of their previous stuff because that was sort of the introduction album to them for myself. Paramore's self-titled. I feel like Paramore are divided between fans who have followed them along from the start and then, people that sort of dropped off after they went into a more pop route. But I actually really like this album. I think it's really cool. Obviously there's some well-known tracks on there like Still Into You and Ain't It Fun and whatever, but I think it goes deeper than that. Neck Deep again with The Peace and the Panic. This is a very sentimental album to myself. This was I think the first ever album I've ever picked up without listening to it from front to back first. That's how hyped I was for this album, and yeah, it still holds up. Really cool shit. Pink Elephant by Stan Atlantic. I think this is their weakest album. It was sort of where they changed from traditional pop punk, sort of sound to a more of an electronic influence, which they've definitely gotten better at for sure, as they've gone on in their careers, but still not a terrible album. The Police Greatest Hits. Yeah, I've said this in previous shelves, I'm not massive on greatest hits albums, but this one here, it has all the tracks by the Police that I really want on it, so cool shit. Posthuman, what's this one called? Next Gen. I forgot. With these Posthuman ones that Bring Me the Horizon are putting out now, I forget what one's what, but you know what, not too bad. I think it is a little bit overrated, but definitely some cool shit on there for sure. Their other Post album, this is Posthuman Survival Horror. I used to pass up on this album and I thought I was just like, okay, I guess Bring Me the Horizon are a band I'm not into anymore, but I went back to check out this one and yeah, really like it actually. Postcards from a Living Hell by Red Hook. We brought up Red Hook a little bit ago. It feels like a long time ago now since I went to bed and had to get up again, but yeah, they just released cool fun music with a lot of dynamic sounds and influences. Yeah, cool shit. Prism, Katy Perry. I spoke about Katy Perry not too long ago either, in context of the video at least. This is past her peak and, there's still some cool shit on here for sure, but, it's a little bit more hit and miss. Proper Dose, The Story So Far. Again, sort of in their era of being past frantic pop punk sounding and into a little bit more of a polished tone, but still some cool shit for sure. Punk Goes Pop Volume 5. Yeah, what a nostalgia hit. I bet a lot of people just went, fuck, haven't thought about Punk Goes Pop in a very long time. And, I think Punk Goes Pop gets a very negative rap. I think it's because looking back, a lot of the songs that we once thought were absolute bangers, just don't hold up. And honestly, there is a lot of cringy covers in the different volumes and whatever. I think this is probably the most consistent album in my opinion. I actually do want to pick up more of the Punk Goes Pops that I just never got around to. We have Pure Heroine by Lorde. I think Lorde's music is a little bit more hit and miss. I think I've gone sort of in a different direction to most people. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, Lorde is growing into herself and she's getting better and better with each album. Maybe besides what was that, Solar Power or whatever it was called, album. But I really like her early stuff, so Pure Heroine here. Alright, so that's the last of this row, but what I'm gonna do now is show you some albums that I've picked up since that would have been in previous shelves, but because we're past it, I didn't get a chance to. So these are albums that would have been earlier in alphabetical order, but yeah, I just haven't picked them up at the time of recording. So the first one we have here is Addison by Addison Rae. Yes, big surprise. I bet no one saw that one coming. But this is actually probably my favourite album for the month of June. I did a separate little video on my TikTok and everything. I'm trying to get into doing some stuff on TikTok and whatever, and I've been doing it for a while now. I think it just helps sort of promote my stuff here and, you know, get more of a sense of community, because that's what it's all about. I'm not trying to set the world of YouTube on fire, but you know, I enjoy talking about music and movies and whatever. The next album here is Analysis Paralysis by 4 Years Strong. Yeah, look at this album artwork. Isn't that just fucking awesome? In the back here. This is like heavy pop punk, which I feel like I've sort of subconsciously like been listening to a lot recently. Like, growing up, you know, you sort of listen to the generic, typical pop punk sort of stuff, but over the past handful of years, I've sort of been, as I said, subconsciously revisiting a lot of like heavy pop punk stuff. So Analysis Paralysis there. And then I have the new album by Silverstein called Anti-Bloom. It's a short album. It's from this year. It's got like 8 songs on it or something like that. Can't remember, but for what it is, pretty enjoyable. And they actually have another album coming out, which again I think is like another 8 songs or so. Pink Moon, I believe it's called, and that will be out in a couple of months. But there we go, guys. That is the end of shelf number 3. Like I said, I'm sorry about the weird cut there. I literally thought it was still recording, and I guess it wasn't, so I had to get back up out of bed and finish this last bit again. And I'll be doing that from now on whenever I grab an album that would have been on a previous shelf, but I've moved on from that shelf since. You know, I'll show it off still, just so I can cover everything that I have here. And I'll do that when I get back around to my movie shelf by shelf eventually soon. But yeah, that's enough rambling for now. Like I said, this video has probably gone on for long enough, so I'll leave it there, and thank you for joining me, guys. I'll see you for shelf number 4 soon.